Hello everyone, my name is Deanna, 20 years old, and I am a student. There are only just me and my parents in the family, and since I'm the only daughter, I am deeply loved by my parents. What makes me most proud of my family is that my parents still have a lot of love for each other despite having lived together for many years. I think this is something that not every couple can do. After a long period of living together, most couples will not have much interest in showing their love through gestures. As for my parents, they still gave each other love words and sweet cuddling gestures every day. And yet, recently, the most unexpected things seemed to happen. My father had been showing strange behaviors. He often left home on weekends, went out early every Sunday morning, and came back at night. He talked less to me and to my mother than before. When I talked to him, at the very least he talked a few words and then stayed silent. I asked my mother about my father's changes, and my mother answered that she didn't know the reason. My father's business was still going smoothly. Nothing had changed, and he also hadn't caused any trouble with anyone before. Mom was very upset, but did not tell my father. I felt very sorry for my mother. Once I saw my father being very secretive when he got a phone call at the stairs. He talked for a long time. Hearing the call, I knew it was a woman on the other end. Many times when my family was having a meal, someone called to my dad and he hurriedly turned off the phone. Both me and my mom found him being strange. Taking advantages of the time my mom was washing the dishes, Dad went to the balcony to call that number again. One day, I secretly overheard my father's private conversation. "Sorry, my wife and my daughter were there just now, so I don't want them to find out. Next week, if you are not busy, can you take your time with me?" "Okay, I'll come." What was that? These words made me extremely confused. Why did it sound like my father was talking excessively to that woman? Or had he committed adultery? Although I was skeptical about my father, I didn't dare to tell the story I just heard to my mother. I'm sure Mom would be very shocked if she knew. Moreover, the psychology of a wife could make my mother behave badly before finding out the truth. I then decided to seek the truth myself. On one weekend, I lied to my parents about taking extra class in the morning, and then went to a coffee shop near my house, waited there until my father left and followed him. For fear of being discovered, I also exchanged my car and jacket with my best friend, hoping to successfully camouflage. Shortly after I left, my father also drove out of the house. I quickly paid for the bill and chased after him. My investigation began. My father was very careful. On the way, I noticed he kept looking back, and this made me believe my judgment even more. I was furious, but still calmly drove and kept a safe distance from my father's vision. The place my dad went to was a cafe a bit away from my house. I didn't know how many kilometers it was, but it was obvious that it took me about 30 minutes to get there. I'm sure my father's mistress was waiting there, and my father was coming to see her. I glanced through the glass to see clearly that Dad pulled a chair across from a pretty girl, who looked quite young, probably around 30 years old. My father really knew how to choose. Maybe he was bored with his wife who only sticked with housework all day like my mother, and turned to prefer a girl who was good at getting a man. I went crazy, running right after my dad went in. I quietly ordered water and sat at a table behind, one hand open to the newspaper to easily observe the actions of two of them. I waited for about 5 minutes to think what I could say before catching my father red-handed. After calming down, I rushed in between the two. Apparently, just like what I thought, my father turned completely pale when he saw me. I cried while trying to reach out and say, "Why are you doing this to my mother and me?" My father grabbed my hand and told me to calm down and listen to his explanation. But who would ever calm down if they were in such a situation like me? I was still crying, holding my hands, and my face got red. The girl whom I thought was a mistress saw the situation still remained calm. She looked up at me and said, "You are misunderstood. I am a personal doctor hired by your father. He is seriously ill, and I am clearly stating the state of his health." Seemingly seeing me still being skeptical, my father continued, "I didn't dare to inform you and your mother for fear that you guys would worry about me. but I guess I couldn't hide anymore. You should know. Dad discovered that he has cirrhosis, and his condition was showing quite severe signs that needed long-term treatment. I still didn't believe in their words. I insisted. You, my father, must have already prepared a script. I don't trust you. I'm not a kid anymore. Do not attempt to deceive me. She slowly handed me the medical record. The patient Albert's record is my father's name. The medical record shows my dad's health is deteriorating, and the disease is correctly diagnosed with cirrhosis. Flipping through the paper stating his health condition, I felt like I was walking down to hell. My father was indeed suffering from cirrhosis, and the situation was serious. Oh, if this is the truth, it is worse than my dad having an affair. Will my dad get through? Why does my father hide it from me and my mother and endure alone? In addition, I also thought badly for my father and then stupidly doing things like catching an affair. Should I tell my mom about my dad's condition? Dad told me to hide this and don't tell her. He was afraid she would be worried and languishing because of him. But I think Mom needs to know this. What should I do?